Good day, viewers! Read the Bible with me. Exodus chapter 8. Yahweh spoke to Moses. Say to Aaron, stretch out your hand with your staff over the rivers, canals, and ponds of Egypt, and cause frogs to cover all the country of Egypt. The magicians of Egypt did the same by means of their secret formulas, and they brought frogs over the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, ask Yahweh to remove the frogs from me and my people, and I will send your people to sacrifice to Yahweh. But Moses replied, let me know, please, when I am to make the petition for you, your officials, and your people, that you may be rid of frogs except in the Nile. Pharaoh answered, tomorrow. And Moses said, right, and that you may know that there is no one like Yahweh, our God. The frogs will disappear from you and your house, your servants, and your people. Only in the Nile will they remain. With this, Moses and Aaron left Pharaoh. Then Moses called on Yahweh concerning the frogs that he had inflicted on Pharaoh. Yahweh did as Moses had promised Pharaoh, and the frogs died in the houses, the farms, and the fields. The people piled them in heaps, and the land was filled with a foul smell. Now that relief had come, Pharaoh became even more stubborn and would not listen, just as Yahweh had foretold. The third plague, the mosquitoes. Yahweh said to Moses, tell Aaron to strike the dust of the earth with his staff and turn it into mosquitoes throughout the land. Aaron did this. He struck the dust of the earth, which turned into mosquitoes that tormented men and animals. All the dust of the earth all over Egypt turned into mosquitoes. But when the magicians tried, by means of their secret formulas, to drive away the mosquitoes, they were not able to do so, and the mosquitoes kept tormenting men and animals. The magician said to Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. But Pharaoh was unmoved and did not listen, as Yahweh had foretold. The fourth plague, the horseflies. Yahweh said to Moses, rise early in the morning and go to Pharaoh. When he is on the way to the river, say to him, this is Yahweh's message. Let my people go and worship me. If you refuse to let them go, I will send horse flies on you, on your officials, and on your people and your houses. The houses of the Egyptians will be filled with horse flies, and even the ground on which they are built. But on that day I will spare the land of Goshen, where my people are. No horseflies will be there, and by this you may know that I, Yahweh, am in the land. I will make a distinction between my people and your people. By tomorrow this will have happened. Yahweh did this, and then swarms of horseflies invaded Pharaoh's house and the houses of all his people and devastated the whole country. Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, go and sacrifice to your God in this country. But Moses replied, that would not be right. We offer to our God animals which are sacred for the Egyptians. If we were to offer in their presence a sacrifice which offends the Egyptians, wouldn't they stone us? We must make a 3-day journey into the desert, and there we will sacrifice to Yahweh, our God, as he commands. Pharaoh replied, I will let you go and sacrifice to your God in the desert, but on condition that they do not go far, and pray to God for me." Moses said, "I am leaving you, and I will pray to Yahweh for you, and tomorrow the horseflies will leave you, your officials and your people, but do not continue to deceive us by refusing to let the people go to the desert." Moses left Pharaoh's house and prayed to Yahweh, who did as Moses he asked, and delivered Pharaoh, his officials, and people from the horseflies. Not one horsefly was left. But Pharaoh was relentless and refused to let the people go. Exodus chapter 9, the fifth plague, death of Egyptian livestock. Yahweh said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh and say to him, 'This is the message of Yahweh, the God of Hebrews. Let my people go and offer sacrifices to me. If you refuse to let them go and hold them back any longer, the hand of Yahweh will bring a terrible plague on your horses, your donkeys, and your camels, on your cattle and your sheep. But Yahweh will make a distinction between the livestock of Israel and that of Egypt. Nothing belonging to the people of Israel will die." Yahweh then fixed a time and said, "It will be done tomorrow." Yahweh did this the following day. All the livestock belonging to the Egyptians died, but not one owned by the Israelites died. Pharaoh made inquiries and, in fact, found that none of the cattle belonging to the Israelites had died. But Pharaoh remained adamant and did not let the people go. The sixth plague, the boils. Yahweh said to Moses and Aaron, "Take 2 handfuls of ashes from the brick oven and let Moses throw it up in the air in front of Pharaoh's eyes. It will become fine dust all over Egypt and bring festering boils on men and animals." So they took ashes from the oven, and in the presence of Pharaoh, Moses threw it up in the air, and it brought festering boils on men and animals. And the magicians could not stand before Moses because they had boils like all the other Egyptians. But Yahweh made Pharaoh stubborn, and he did not listen to Moses and Aaron as Yahweh had foretold. The seventh plague, the hail. Yahweh said to Moses, "Rise early, present yourself to Pharaoh, and say to him, 'This is the message of Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews. Send my people away to worship me, because this time I will send the full force of my plagues against you, your ministers, and your people, and that you may know there is no one like me in the whole world. For I had wished I could have raised my hand against you and your people, and with a similar pestilence wiped you from the face of the earth. But this is why I have let you live, that you may witness my power, and that my name may be celebrated throughout the earth. Are you still set against my people, leaving the country? Tomorrow at this time I will send very heavy hail, such as has never been in Egypt from the day of its foundation. So now let all your livestock and all you have in the fields take shelter, because when the hail falls on all that remains in the fields, whether men or animals, they will die." Those among Pharaoh's officials who believed Yahweh's words hurried to bring their slaves and cattle inside. But those who paid no attention to Yahweh's warning left their slaves and their cattle in the fields. Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand towards heaven, and let the hail fall throughout Egypt on men and animals, and all that grows in the field." Moses stretched out his staff towards heaven, and Yahweh sent thunder and hail. Lightning struck the earth, and Yahweh rained hail on the land of Egypt. Lightning flashed in the midst of the hail. It was very heavy hail, such as had never been known in all Egypt from the time it had first become a nation. Throughout Egypt, the hail struck everything in the fields, both men and animals. It beat down everything growing in the fields and felled every tree. But where the Israelites lived, there was no hail. Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "Now it is clear I have sinned. Yahweh is in the right. I and my people are in the wrong. Pray Yahweh to stop the thunder and hail. I will let you go, and no longer will you stay here." Moses said to him, "As soon as I leave the town, I will lift my hands towards Yahweh. The thunder will cease, and there will be no more hail, and you will know that the earth is Yahweh's. But as for you and your officials, I know that you don't yet fear Yahweh our God." The flax and the barley were ruined, as the barley was almost ripe, and the flax was in flower, but the wheat and the spell, which are late crops, were not destroyed. Moses left Pharaoh and went out of the city and raised his hands towards Yahweh. The thunder and hail ceased, and it stopped raining. Pharaoh, seeing that there was no rain, and that the thunder and hail had ceased, sinned yet again. He and his ministers remained unyielding and would not let the Israelites go, just as Yahweh had foretold through Moses. Praise be to God in the reading of the Holy Scriptures. God bless you. Till our next Bible reading.